You can take the guest room or move out, my mother told me when my sister suddenly arrived with her husband. Great, if you're out by the weekend, my sister added cheerfully. I moved out. But days later, her smug smile disappeared. Panic took over. She's lying. Mom, tell me she's lying. My name is Violet. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've lived with my mother in the house my father rebuilt just before he died. Dad passed away suddenly, heart failure. The house wasn't even fully decorated yet. One week, we were picking out kitchen tiles together. The next, I was sitting beside my mom as she stared blankly at the wall, barely able to get out of bed. We held the funeral on a rainy Friday. Josie, my younger sister, flew in wearing designer sunglasses and a silk scarf, cried dramatically, and left by Sunday morning. I stayed. I stayed because someone had to. Because Mom was fragile, because the mortgage wasn't fully paid off and someone had to make the payments, and because I hate to admit it, I felt responsible. I owed my dad that much that he loved Mom. Even when she belittled him, even when she snapped at him for the smallest things, he never raised his voice. She just needs more grace, he'd say. You girls take care of her. Yeah. So I did. I gave up a promotion that would have transferred me to Seattle. I turned down company housing even though it came with reduced rent and a 15-minute commute. I stayed. And for what? To be reminded daily that I wasn't Josie. Josie, the golden child. Josie with her glossy hair, 1,000-watt smile, and Instagram perfect life. Josie, who left home at 22 to marry a man named Brent, whose only real talent was looking good in a blazer. She was the star of every family gathering. Meanwhile, I was the background noise. You should wear more color, Violet, Mom would say. Josie always lights up a room. You look like you're dressing for jury duty. Or, why don't you try dating again? It's not too late. Even for someone like you. Even for someone like me. I gritted my teeth and paid the bills, cleaned the gutters, cooked the dinners. I thought if I just kept showing up, maybe she'd see me. Maybe, eventually I'd be enough. But everything changed. On a Thursday, I came home from work 2 hours late thanks to a shipping delay and walked into a scene that felt like deja vu. Josie was curled up on the living room couch, tissues balled in her lap. Brent sat beside her, flipping through his phone like he wished he were anywhere else. Mom hovered with a tray of tea and shortbread cookies like they were royalty visiting from abroad. Violet. Mom chirped like I was a neighbor stopping by. Guess who's back? I can see that, I said. What's going on? Josie sniffled. Brent lost his job. The company downsized and cut his entire department. Brent didn't look up. We're behind on rent, Josie continued. Our landlord gave us 2 weeks to vacate. And we don't have anywhere to go, Mom added quickly, already wrapping an arm around her. Oh, they're moving in. Wait, what? They need help, Violet. They're family. So am I said slowly. I live here. You'll figure it out, Mom said. You're good at that. I looked at Josie, who gave a tiny shrug and mouthed, sorry. Though the smirk at the corner of her lips told a different story. Later that evening, I pulled Mom aside. This house is barely big enough for 2 adults, let alone 4, I said. Where are they going to sleep? In your room, she said plainly. I blinked. What? You can take the guest room or move out. It's up to you. You're serious. I'm not discussing this. I always wanted Josie back here. She belongs in this house. I've been paying the mortgage. Mom shrugged. It's in my name. And you've always acted like you were doing me some big favor. I never asked you to because you couldn't. You were a mess after Dad died. And now I have Josie. I don't need you. It hit like a slap. The next morning, Josie knocked on my door with a cheery voice and no trace of regret. Hey, Mom says if you could be out by Saturday, that'd be great. Brent and I kind of need this space. Excuse me? She leaned against the frame, eyes bright. Come on, you've been living like a spinster. This will be good for you. A little fresh start. I shut the door in her face. Inside, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. On the bookshelf sat a manila folder I hadn't touched in months. It was from HR. Inside, the offer for company housing I declined when I thought Mom needed me. My hand trembled slightly as I opened it. Studio, apartment, clean, safe, close to work. Move-in bonus. No screaming, no guilt. No Josie. I made the call. By Friday afternoon, I'd filed for transfer, secured a key, and scheduled movers. I packed in silence. No one offered to help. No one asked why. They were too busy planning a welcome-back barbecue. Josie wanted to repaint the kitchen. Brent asked if they could swap the couch for a sectional. Saturday morning came. A hot breeze rustled the blinds. I stood in the driveway in jeans and a t-shirt, my hair pulled into a ponytail, a clipboard in hand as the truck rolled in. The mover stepped out, surprised by the number of boxes already stacked near the porch. You ready for the big move? One asked with a grin. Yeah, I said, exhaling. Let's get started. We loaded everything. My bed, my bookshelves, my coffee maker, my desk, my dishes. I took my time. With every box, I felt lighter, stronger, free. By early afternoon, we were almost done. One of the movers paused by the door, glanced around at the now empty room, and raised an eyebrow. You're really taking everything? I smiled, calm, unapologetic. Yes, I said. Everything. By the time the truck pulled away, the house I'd once called home looked hollow. No TV, no coffee table, no dining chairs, no framed prints, just dust outlines on the floor where my furniture used to be. Everything I'd bought over the years was mine, purchased with my paycheck, delivered on my days off, assembled by hand. So, yes, I took it. All of it. When I turned in the keys to the staff housing office later that afternoon, I almost couldn't believe it. The studio apartment was small but bright, quiet, clean. The fridge didn't hum ominously. The water pressure was perfect. I didn't have to fight over the bathroom schedule. I sat on the mattress and exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. That night, I ignored the buzzing of my phone. Missed calls, voicemails, messages from Mom, then Josie, then Brent. Most of them were angry. A few were confused, but I didn't listen. I turned my phone off, made tea, and watched the city lights from my tiny balcony. By Monday, they'd shown up at my job. The front desk called down. Violet, your mom's here and your sister. I almost laughed. I hadn't even given them the address. I stayed in the loading bay until they left. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of a confrontation on my turf. That evening on my way home, I decided to swing by the house. I figured they'd be waiting, and I was right. The porch light was on, but the living room was dark. I knock. Once before letting myself in with the spare key I hadn't returned. Mom and Josie were in the kitchen, arms crossed, expressions thunderous. Mom didn't waste time. What the hell did you do? What are you talking about? I said calmly. You cleaned the place out. There's nothing left. No fridge, no table, not even the toaster. That was mine, I said. I bought it like I bought everything else. Josie stepped forward, brows furrowed. You can't just take things without permission. I didn't, I replied. You assumed they were yours. That doesn't make it true. We didn't think you'd take literally everything. Mom snapped. I opened my hands. What exactly did you expect? The house feels like a shell, Josie said quietly. It's depressing. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the house I paid for not comfortable enough without my things? Josie's eyes narrowed. What about the bank account? I blinked. What? The joint account. Dad's insurance. Money was deposited there, remember? I checked yesterday. There's nothing left. I let out a soft breath. already seeing where this was going. That money was gone a long time ago, I said. I've been covering the mortgage on my own for the past 4 years. Josie froze. No, there was a ton left. I saw it once, like 40,000. That wasn't insurance money. That was me saving portions of my paycheck. That's what I used to supplement the mortgage and utilities. No way, Josie muttered. I tilted my head. Why does it matter? You're not on the deed. It's not your house. Mom's expression flickered. First, surprise, then panic. Josie turned sharply to her. Is she lying? Mom said nothing. Mother, Josie said more firmly. Tell me she's lying. Let's talk later. Tell me. Mom looked away, Josie's hands clenched into fists. You told me the insurance payout was still sitting there. That if we came back, we'd be okay. That we could use it to get back on our feet. I looked between them, stunned. You came back for money. Josie rounded on me. All pretense gone. You think we moved in for family bonding? Brent and I are drowning in debt. He got fired 2 months ago. We've been maxing out credit cards. You think I actually wanted to sleep in my childhood bed again? Mom tried to interject. She didn't mean it like, yes, I did. Josie shouted. I meant every word. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't promised there was money. Mom's face turned pale. And you, Josie growled, pointing at me, took every last thing in that house and left us with a pile of empty promises. I crossed my arms. No, I left you with exactly what you gave me. Nothing. Josie's lips trembled. The insurance money was supposed to be shared. You mean the money you thought you'd inherit? I said coolly. The money you never paid into, never contributed to. We wouldn't be in this mess if you hadn't emptied the house. We wouldn't be in this mess if you hadn't banked your entire future on a lie. Josie turned back to Mom, eyes wide with rage. You said it was still there. Mom's voice was barely audible. I thought we'd figure it out later. Later. That's all you ever say. Later. Soon. Eventually. You told me to come home. You said we'd be fine. Because I missed you. Mom whispered. No, you missed having someone to do on. Someone who made you feel important. You never cared about what I needed. I watched as they unraveling each other. Josie, pacing, Mom stammering, both of them, realizing the same thing at the same time. There was no plan, only delusion. Brent hadn't come home since the fight, the day before. Josie had maxed out her 3rd credit card. Mom had no savings, the house still had 6 years left on the mortgage, and the only person who'd been paying at me was gone. Suddenly, Josie's voice dropped to a whisper, a terrifying, desperate whisper. You said we could use that money to start over. There is no money, I said flatly. And there hasn't been for years. Josie's face crumpled. She looked like a child, realizing Christmas was fake. What about the file folder? She whispered. Dad's paperwork's gone. Mom used most of it to redo the bathroom, then the kitchen. Then she bought you that used Lexus when you got married. That was from her savings. I shook my head. No, that was from his insurance. I kept the receipts. Josie turned to Mom. Tell me that's not true. Silence. Tell me. Mom stared at the floor. I didn't want to worry you. Josie let out a strangled noise and stormed toward the hall. I stood there, watching the wreckage unfold. Mom turned to me with glossy eyes. Please, Violet, help us. Why would I? Because you're the only one who knows how to fix things. You called me a parasite. You told me to get out. Remember? I was angry. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did, I said. And now, you're exactly where you put yourself. Josie came back into the room holding a torn envelope in one hand. It's empty, she said, her voice low and bitter. There's nothing, not even old bills. I know, I replied. I checked. Years ago. Mom sat down at the kitchen table and buried her face in her hands, and I looked at the two of them. They'd kicked me out, expecting comfort, backup, and cash. What they got was an empty house, a mountain of debt, and no one to blame but themselves, and they still didn't see it. They still thought I'd fix it. They still thought I owed them. They were wrong. Josie stood still in the hallway, holding that empty folder like it had betrayed her. Mom sat at the kitchen table, face pale, fingers laced, breathing shallow. I could tell she was trying to piece it all together. How? She'd lost control of the narrative of the house, of both her daughters, and most of all, of me. I don't understand, Mom finally whispered. What are we supposed to do now? I didn't answer. I mean the mortgage, she continued, voice rising in desperation. The bills, the food. We don't even have a blender anymore or a microwave. That was mine, I said. All of it was mine. You could have left something. You left me with nothing. Just memories of being reminded I was second best. Just years of pretending I didn't hear you call me, dull or plain or a burden. Josie spun toward her. And you told me there'd be money. You said Dad left enough for a second start, that we could pay off the cards, that Brent and I could. You lied to us, I added. Both of us. But the difference is I stopped believing you years ago. Mom's mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. I took a deep breath and reached into my tote. I pulled out a white envelope and laid it on the counter. What's this? Josie asked wearily. My last mortgage receipt. The loan is still in your name, Mother. You'll need to cover it now. 6 more years. Fixed rate. Monthly payments aren't bad. Unless you're unemployed and broke, I guess you can't expect us to pay this, Josie snapped. I don't expect anything. I'm done expecting. I just wanted to leave you the facts. Since fantasy hasn't worked out so well. Josie gritted her teeth. You're heartless. I turned to her. You came back for money, Josie. Not for Mom. Not for love. Not even out of desperation. You were banking on a lie and using people to cover your losses. Don't pretend this is about family. Oh, and you're a saint, she shot back. You just abandoned your mother after everything she's been through. No, I said. I stayed for years. I supported her. I paid for her home, groceries, gas, medical bills, insurance, and her little renovations. I gave her my 20s and she threw me out the second you came back. So no, I didn't abandon her. She traded me. Mom flinched. Josie looked shaken, but quickly masked it in anger. I can't believe you're just walking away. I gave a dry laugh. You should be grateful. I could have emptied the savings account before I left, but I didn't because, unlike both of you, I still had an ounce of decency left. You're cruel, Mom whispered. No, I'm free. I turned and headed for the door behind me. Josie snapped. Well, good. We don't need you. I'll figure something out. Brent's talking to a guy about a job. I'm sure he is, I said without looking back. Gambling's a tough industry to break into. Josie cursed under her breath. I stopped at the threshold, hand on the doorknob. Take care of each other, I said. You wanted her, Mother. Now live with her. And I walked out. The door clicked behind me with a weight that felt symbolic, like years of pain and pressure sealing themselves off for. Good. It's been 4 weeks since that day. I haven't heard from them. Not directly, but I did hear from a former neighbor that the house went on the market. Apparently, it sat for 2 weeks before. Someone lowballed them, and they had to accept. Last I checked, they'd moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment across town. Josie works part-time at a bakery. Mom apparently is doing admin at a dentist's office. Brent never got that job. I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel satisfying. But more than that, it feels quiet. My new apartment is still modest, but it's mine. The furniture is mismatched, but cozy. I cook what I want, watch whatever I feel like, sleep through the night without hearing slammed cabine. T doors or whispered, insults behind walls that my manager offered me a lead position last week. I said yes. This morning I stopped by a cafe I used to avoid because mom called it pretentious. I brought a book. I drank my cappuccino in peace. I caught myself smiling for no reason at all. And I realized something. They kicked me out, thinking I was disposable, a placeholder, a parasite. But in the end, I was the only thing holding everything together. Now they have each other and I have everything else: freedom, solitude, stability, and finally the life I chose.